You know, folks, with the news of the possible reboot for the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise coming in the next few years, the fact that it's even being explored and talked about, you know, you got to think about what will be affected. Now, overall, the games themselves will be changed. You look at my video, you read the links that I put in the description box when I talked about it, and yes, it's in two parts, if you must know. But you read those descriptions, you click on those links in my previous video, my previous two-part video, and it makes you think, well, we know the games might be changed around, the worlds, the environments, even the characters, but what else could be affected? Well, here's one thing. Even though we own this DVD, a lot of us probably do, even though we can watch said series on Netflix if we own it, whether it's through our iPods, iPhones, iPads, whatever, our gaming consoles, our Rucos, our Blu-ray players, whatever. The thing is, this could be one of the things that gets affected. I mean, yes, we know it's not being commercially sold by Shout Factory anymore. We understand if you go to Amazon, you can still probably get, and maybe to Walmart and Target, you could still probably get copies of this. There's no doubt. That's why people like me have an extra copy still in its wrapping. But then again, you take a look at that, and then you also take a look at, let's say, the comic books, which is another major outlet that goes of the franchise that's not video game. It's not a video game, but it's based around it. You got to say to yourself, how's it going to affect that? We don't know. I mean, this is kind of surprising, though, that the news and the rumor, the news of this rumor comes around the fact that we're 1 year away from both the comic book turning 20 years old, or having a 20th anniversary, as well as this, even though it's seen on Netflix now, and well as you can buy hopefully still physically buy it, that the Sadie M series and even Adventures, the AOSTH series, is going to celebrate 20 years. The fact is, with the fact that this rumored reboot scheduled for the next few years is going to occur right after that time frame. It's almost like whoever came up with this idea that they're exploring for a reboot is looking at all these other outlets and says, you know what? 20 years was good for the comic. 20 years is good enough time to celebrate what the other show, what these animated outlets, or whatever they were. And that might be true. That might be true in some manner. That might be true in some manner, but how much of an effect will it have? I mean, right now, if you look at the comic books, right now, the comic books, storyline-wise, are in a situation that, that the fan base is kind of divided on, if you will. And yet, no matter how divided the fan base is, they're still not going. We don't know how that fan base is going to react to the comics possibly being affected, in some manner, in some way. I mean, we don't know how the comics can be affected. I mean, we don't have to worry about this or even Underground if we own the series if we own either series in some ways. We don't have to worry about this, we don't have to worry about Underground, we don't have to worry about Adventures. Heck, we don't even have to worry about Sonic X, and we don't even have to worry about the OVA or even Night of the Werehog. Because we know those won't be affected. As long as we have some kind of physical copy of them in our grasp, we won't have to worry about it. And as long as the things like torrents and everything, we won't have to worry. Don't know how much longer torrents are going to be around, but you get the idea. But the thing is, how badly or how much will it be affected if this reboot becomes a reality? Are we going to have the comics stop and reboot once more? And we're not just talking reboot continuity-wise, but just reboot overhaul-wise. In other words, restart with a new #1 issue. Is that what's going to happen? Is that what's going to happen to Universe, Sonic Universe? Will it have to reboot itself into another #1 issue? I mean, those are possibilities. I mean, think about it. Think about it. What could happen? Do you think writers like Ian Flynn, writers and artists like Ian Flynn and Tracy Yardlin and whoever else worked on there, do you think they like hearing the idea of a major reboot happening? Do you think Archie Comics likes it, even though they're in a situation to where, you know, they could end up losing a partnership with Sega at any time in the future? Do you think they like hearing that? No. No, of course not. Because do you think honestly they're going to be like, well, you know, they could be like, yeah, well, another comic could make us some money and all that, and you know, that's true, but do we really want to have to go through that again? I mean, the more logical choice they're going to look at is just to give notice to the fans. Like, let's say a fan like me that subscribes to them, give us notice and say, oh, by the way, your next issue is going to be a reboot. It's going to be part of the overall reboot, and it's going to be issue 1 again. It's going to be a rebooting of the first issue, completely new story, completely new origin, blah, blah, blah. Do you think they're going to like having to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But the thing is, we don't know that. We don't know specifically how they're going to feel or how much this is going to affect it. I mean, heck, who knows? They might just keep the comic and the Universe spin-off and all the archives and select books and encyclopedias, whatever they come up, encyclopedias and whatever the fuck else they come up with, excuse my language, but whatever the fuck else they come up with, they release in the future. Yeah, they may keep all that and say, you know what, we still got enough room to do one more Sonic comic, and this will be based off the new reboot. You know, they might enjoy that. They might, but then again, they may not. Because remember, a lot of people put it like this. Sega, in some ways, has the final say. In some ways. So Sega might say to them, you know, they might suggest something like that, and Sega will be like, yeah, that's a good idea, but why don't you just reboot the entire comic book franchise and restart with a new #1 issue? Could happen. It could happen. And it's kind of ironic that we're heading into 250 next year, and Ian Flynn, who I got a lot of great respect for, is saying that he's got this story, despite whether we have a character restored or not, whether we have a character legionized for the good reasons or not, and whether we have a character out of a coma and back fighting with or not. You know, he may say he still has plans to continue this arc all the way into the 275 range, but then again, that might all change, because 275 goes beyond 2014. It goes into 2015, and who's to say in between that time frame of 2014 and 15, Sega's not going to order that. Sega's not going to say, oh yeah, you want us to continue to do our comics, Archie Comics? And Archie will be like, oh yeah, we like doing it. Oh, but okay, by the way, we'll allow you to still do it. Oh, but by the way, you got to reboot the entire comic book franchise, comic book outlet of the franchise, and you got to restart with a new #1. Do you think, again, honestly, like I said earlier, do you think Ian Flynn is going to like hearing that? Do you think Tracy Yardlin's going to like hearing that? Do you think the Archie comic book staff and those in charge of Archie Comics themselves, like Victor Golick, Paul Kaminsky, and whoever the fuck else is in charge, are going to like hearing that? Hell no! Hell no, they're not going to like hearing that. But, like many people have said, they're not going to have much of a choice. They want to continue milking this Sonic franchise for the money, for all the money they can milk out of it, and give a percentage or so to Sega and keep a percentage for themselves. You think they're not going to want to? You think they're going to want to give that up? No. So they're going to have no choice to say, but to go like, okay, we'll reboot the entire comic book franchise. We'll start with a new #1. And just think about it this way: do you think a lot of fans are going to like the fact that if maybe they reboot it and restart it, it kind of restarts the way it was before. Not comical or anything, but kind of serious. But it has the same characters like a Sally, a Bunny, a Rotor, and Antoine, just as they were, maybe a little bit more different. Do you think they're going to like that? I know a lot of fans that don't like Sally, for instance, that don't like Sally. They're going to be like, ah, shit, we got to deal with her again. We got to deal with her again, back to the way she was. Ah, shit. They're not going to like it. As much as Amy fans are going to be like, ah, shit, where's Amy? Oh, by the way, she got replaced by a new character. Who? Her. What? Do you think they're going to like that? Do you think they're going to like seeing a new female character come in and replace Amy? Do you think they're going to like that? Or do you think they're going to like seeing Amy probably portrayed as something she's not? I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, just the fact that it's crazy to speculate on what, how much of an effect this reboot could have on the comic book. And when you think about it, they're even suggesting maybe a new cartoon series in the future. A new cartoon series. So what do you think that might do? Well, I'll tell you what that might do. That might be a good thing, and that may not be a good thing. I mean, the fact that they're even suggesting of going the Skylanders route is one thing. The fact that they're suggesting new merchandise, where you can buy something that you connect to a peripheral, and it downloads that character into the game. I mean, just the fact that that even is being considered, along with a new cartoon series, I mean, just think how fans will react. I mean, how will fans react if what I said could happen? But let me know your thoughts. What do you think? How do you think the comic will be treated? How do you think it's going to be affected if this reboot happens? Do you think it's going to have to restart with the first issue again? Just like we've seen with several major Marvel and DC and even Image comic titles? Do you think it's going to end up in that kind of scenario? Like, let's say some of the Spider-Man, Superman, Batmans, Justice League, Avengers, X-Men titles have? Do you think it's going to end up like that? Or do you think they're going to add on a new spin-off based off the reboot? If the reboot even happens. How do you think it's going to affect? Do you think they might keep the same characters? They just might kind of make it a little bit more serious, kind of comical, kind of half and half? What do you think is going to happen? You tell me, respond down below, let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.